What if I told you that the biggest enemy standing between you and the life you dream of isn't out there, but inside you? Not your lack of time, not your talent, not even your circumstances. It's something far more subtle, more silent, and far more dangerous. Every time you sit down to write, paint, start a business, or hit the gym, and then somehow don't, that force pulling you away? That's what Steven Pressfield calls resistance. In The War of Art, he doesn't just name this enemy, he exposes it. And more importantly, he teaches you how to fight it. So if you've ever felt like something invisible is holding you back, you're not lazy, you're not crazy, you're at war. And by the end of this summary, you'll be armed to win it. This is Shiny Books, and today we break down the war of art in a way that changes how you create forever. Resistance is not loud. It doesn't scream at you or shove you to the ground. It whispers softly. It sounds like, you can do it tomorrow. You're not ready yet. Who are you to try this? And the worst part? It sounds reasonable, logical, even kind. That's what makes it so dangerous. Every time you've had a great idea, a business, a book, a side hustle, a fitness goal, and didn't act on it, resistance was there. Not as a monster in your closet, but as that casual urge to scroll your phone. That sudden, urgent need to clean your desk. That one YouTube video before you get serious. Steven Pressfield doesn't describe resistance like a bad habit. He describes it like an enemy, intelligent, patient, and ruthless. Its only mission is to keep you from doing your work. The work that matters. The work that brings your soul alive. The work that might make you face rejection, embarrassment, failure, and growth. And here's what hits hardest. The more important your work is to your soul's evolution, the stronger resistance will fight to stop you. Think about that for a moment. You don't procrastinate on meaningless tasks. You don't panic at the thought of folding laundry. But write a novel? Start a podcast? Launch your brand? Suddenly, everything feels impossible. Why? Because resistance only attacks where the stakes are high. It knows when your future self is on the line. It knows when you're about to become more than you were yesterday. And it fears that more than anything. That's why the first lesson in the war of art isn't motivational fluff. It's a wake-up call. You're not just dealing with laziness or distraction. You're battling a force that wants you to stay exactly where you are. Comfortable. Safe. Mediocre. And it's cunning. Resistance wears many masks. It looks like perfectionism, the belief that things must be flawless before they're shared. It looks like busyness, filling your day with errands and emails so you never get to the real work. It even looks like self-doubt, telling you you're not talented enough, not original enough, not special enough. But underneath all these lies is one truth. Resistance is fear in disguise. Fear that you'll fail. Or worse, fear that you'll succeed and your life will change. That people will see you differently. That you'll have to keep showing up. So what does resistance fear? Action. When you sit down and begin, even badly, you weaken it. Every sentence you write, every step you take, every rep you push through, resistance fades. Not because it's gone, but because it can't survive motion. But here's the cruel joke. Resistance will never fully disappear. You don't defeat it once and live happily ever after. You wake up and fight it again tomorrow. And the next day. And the day after that. It's a daily war. That's why this book isn't called the War of Success, or the War of Inspiration. It's the War of Art. Because art, your art, whatever it is, requires a fight. Think about artists, writers, entrepreneurs, athletes. They all face resistance. The difference between them and everyone else isn't talent. It's the decision to fight through it. That's the real message. You don't need more time, more confidence, or more validation. You need to understand that resistance is real, and it's coming for you. And that's a good sign. Because if you feel it, if your stomach knots when you imagine starting that project, that means it matters. That means there's something on the other side worth reaching for. Now here's the truth Steven Pressfield wants you to accept, even if it stings. Resistance will win if you let it. And no one will stop it but you. Not your friends. Not your partner. Not the universe. Only you. But here's the beautiful flip side. The moment you recognize resistance, the moment you call it out, you reclaim your power. You stop believing its lies. You start seeing that hesitation not as truth but as a signal. A sign that you're on the edge of growth. Let's be clear. Resistance doesn't attack the trivial. It only shows up when you're about to create something that could change your life. So next time it hits, don't panic. Don't avoid it. Smile. You just found the right direction. The direction resistance doesn't want you to take. And that is exactly where you must go. There comes a moment in every creator's life where something quietly but profoundly shifts. You stop waiting to be inspired. You stop looking for permission. You stop calling yourself aspiring. And you decide, fully, unapologetically, to go pro. This decision isn't flashy. It doesn't come with a trophy or applause. No one even notices at first. But inside, everything changes. Steven Pressfield says the difference between an amateur and a professional isn't skill, it's mindset. The amateur creates when it's convenient. The professional shows up, rain or shine. The amateur waits for motivation. The pro builds a routine. The amateur treats their craft like a hobby. The pro treats it like a job. And here's the brutal truth. Most people stay amateurs forever. Not because they lack talent, but because staying amateur is safe. It means you can dabble, dream, make excuses. You can tell people, I'm working on something without ever finishing it. You can flirt with your potential without ever committing to it. But when you turn pro, you cross a line you can't uncross. You now have a responsibility to your work, a duty to yourself. You don't ask, do I feel like it today? You just do it. You punch in. You sit down. You get to work. Professionals don't wait for perfect conditions. They show up even when they're tired, distracted, insecure. They do the work even when it feels like garbage. Because they know that's how the magic happens. In the act of doing, not waiting. Going pro means you stop identifying with your fears. You stop romanticizing your blocks. You stop treating resistance like a valid excuse. Instead, you treat it like weather, something you work through, not something you surrender to. And yes, resistance still comes. It never leaves. But pros expect it. They don't take it personally. They lace up anyway. This mindset shift, this going pro decision, is what transforms art into discipline, passion into consistency, and talent into results. And it's not just about creative work. It's about how you live. The professional doesn't complain about the struggle. They respect it. They don't whine about being tired. They rest strategically. They don't treat failure as defeat. They see it as feedback. The amateur chases validation. The pro builds value. The amateur wants to be seen. The pro wants to serve. Going pro means doing your work whether anyone applauds or not. Whether you get likes or not. Whether the world watches or not. Because the pro knows, the real reward is in the doing. Let's take an example. Imagine two people both want to write a book. The amateur spends months planning, outlining, adjusting fonts, and researching writing software. They tell everyone about it. They wait for the perfect time, maybe next week or next year when things settle down. The pro just starts. 1 hour a day. Bad pages. Messy drafts. No announcement. Guess who finishes the book? It's not about being better. It's about being committed. Going pro also means separating your identity from your work. You are not your art. If it fails, that doesn't mean you failed. If it succeeds, that doesn't mean you're untouchable. The pro does the work and releases it. They trust the process. They know not every piece will be a masterpiece, and that's okay. The point isn't perfection. The point is progress. This mindset creates resilience. It creates grit. It creates a system that outlasts moods, critics, and bad days. But here's the key Pressfield emphasizes. No one can make this decision for you. Your parents can't force you to go pro. Your mentor can't do it. Your audience can't do it. You, alone, quietly deciding, I'm done waiting. I'm done dabbling. I'm in this for real. And it's a decision you'll have to make over and over. Every morning. Every blank page. Every time you don't feel like it. That's the truth about going pro. It's not a one-time transformation. It's a daily choice. And yes, some days you'll slip. Some days resistance will win. That's part of it. But the difference is now you know. You know you're in the arena. You're no longer watching from the sidelines, pretending your potential isn't calling you. You answered the call. And that makes all the difference. So ask yourself right now, honestly, are you still playing amateur? Are you waiting for someone to say you're ready? Or are you willing to claim it? Not because you feel prepared, but because you've decided. Going pro doesn't mean you stop being afraid. It means you stop letting fear make decisions for you. And that's the day everything changes. There's a voice inside your head. You know the one. It says things like, this isn't good enough, or why even try when others are better? Or the classic, you're just wasting your time. That voice? That's not your intuition. That's resistance in costume. This time dressed as fear, rationalization, and your inner critic. Steven Pressfield is crystal clear about it. Resistance is not just one thing. It's a shapeshifter. And its favorite forms are the ones that sound the most like you. Let's start with fear. Not the kind that keeps you safe from real danger like fire or falling. This is the quiet fear. The fear of humiliation. The fear of being ignored. The The fear of looking foolish. The fear of success, because then you'd have to keep succeeding. And here's the trap. This fear often feels reasonable. You tell yourself, I need more practice, or now's not the right time, or maybe I'm just not cut out for this. But dig deeper and what's really there? Fear of being seen. Fear of failing. Fear of truly showing up as yourself. Fear is resistance's favorite weapon, because it doesn't need to stop you. It just needs to slow you down, make you hesitate, distract you long enough that the opportunity passes. And then, in comes rationalization. This is resistance with a suit and tie. It sounds smart, logical, thoughtful. It says, you can't start your side project right now because your day job is too demanding. Be realistic. Or, you'll have more time in the summer. Just wait. Rationalization doesn't feel like procrastination. It feels like strategy, like planning. But really it's a delay tactic. A way to stay in motion without making progress. A way to stay busy and stay stuck. And then there's the inner critic, resistance's most personal disguise. This is the voice that doesn't argue with your schedule or your plans. It attacks you. You're not talented. You don't have what it takes. You'll never be as good as them. It's harsh. It's cruel. And worst of all, it sounds like your own thoughts. But here's what Steven Pressfield reminds us. That voice is not you. It's not truth. It's resistance, echoing your worst fears to keep you from risking anything real. Because your real self, the part of you that's meant to create, to lead, to build, that self is quiet, steady, focused. It doesn't scream. It doesn't panic. It just shows up. That's why recognizing these tactics is everything. Once you can say, that's just resistance talking, you take away its power. You realize, just because the thought is loud doesn't mean it's right. And here's the secret weapon, one the pros use constantly. You don't need to feel confident to take action. In fact, most pros feel insecure almost every day. But they show up anyway. Because they know the inner critic isn't there to protect you. It's there to paralyze you. So how do you beat it? You move forward anyway. You write the page while thinking it's terrible. You hit publish even when your hands shake. You make the call even when you want to throw up. You show up. Because resistance hates forward motion. Even a single step toward your goal weakens it. Every action proves the voice wrong. Every brave move chips away at its control. Let's be real, there will always be fear. Always. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing action in spite of it. And that's what separates those who create from those who just dream. The people who make things happen aren't fearless. They're just better at ignoring fear's lies. Steven Pressfield tells us this. The more scared we are of a work, the more certain we can be that we have to do it. That fear you feel? That pit in your stomach? That means you're close to something important. Something meaningful. Something that matters. So instead of running from the fear, lean in. Let it guide you. Not because it's right, but because it reveals what you care about most. And then, act. Create anyway. Show up messy. Show up scared. Show up unsure. Just show up. Because every time you do, you teach that inner voice that you're in charge now. And one more thing, don't wait for the inner critic to disappear. It won't. It'll always whisper, always doubt, always try to drag you back to the sidelines. But each time you choose action anyway, that voice gets a little quieter, a little weaker, until one day it's just background noise, still there, still mumbling, but no longer in control. There's something mystical about the moment inspiration strikes. The words flow, the music aligns, the vision becomes clear. It feels like something beyond you is helping, as if the universe, or fate, or some higher power suddenly decided to lend a hand. Steven Pressfield calls this presence the Muse. But here's the twist. The Muse doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work. You don't sit around hoping for lightning to strike. You build the lightning rod. You show up at the same time, every day, ready or not. Because the Muse respects discipline. She visits the ones who are already in motion. This is one of the most radical ideas in the war of art. That inspiration is not random. It's a reward. A partner that only shows up when you've proven you're serious. You must earn it. Think about it. The amateur waits to be inspired, then acts. The pro acts, and through that act becomes inspired. That's why showing up matters so much. Even when it feels pointless, even when your work sucks, even when no one is watching. Because every time you do, you signal to the Muse, I'm here. I'm ready. I respect the gift. And eventually she shows up. Sometimes quietly. Sometimes all at once. But only after you've done your part. This is what separates wishful thinkers from real creators. The amateurs fantasize about the perfect idea landing in their lap. The pros build a routine that invites it. And yes, it's spiritual, but it's also incredibly practical. Let's say you're a writer. If you wait for the perfect idea, you may write twice a month. But if you write every day, even when you don't feel like it, you create space for brilliance to visit. You're giving the muse a place to land. And it's not just about discipline. It's about humility. You're saying, this isn't about me. I'm just the vessel. I'm here to serve the work. That shift, from ego to service, is everything. It takes the pressure off you needing to be a genius. And it places your focus on showing up, doing the work, and trusting that something greater will meet you halfway. And sometimes it will feel divine. You'll create something and think, where did that come from? It flowed through you. It felt effortless. You barely remember writing it. That's the muse. But she only trusts the ones who are consistent, who treat their work like a sacred contract, who don't flinch when it gets hard, who sit down day after day whether or not anyone is clapping. This is what Pressfield means when he says art is not just a calling, it's a practice. And just like spiritual practice, it requires discipline, devotion, and surrender. The discipline to show up, the devotion to your craft, the surrender to something larger than yourself. And that's not just poetic. It's a real mindset that transforms how you work. You stop obsessing over outcomes. You stop controlling every detail. You stop tying your worth to success or failure. You simply say, this is my offering. I did my part. The rest is not up to me. And ironically, that's when your best work emerges. Because when you're no longer strangled by fear or ego, you create from a place of flow, of truth, of something bigger. But here's the hard part. You don't get to schedule the muse. You don't get to demand her presence. You only get to prepare the space. And you do that by honoring the work, by taking it seriously, by showing up with respect, even on the days you feel uninspired, untalented, or unseen. Because showing up is the ritual. It's the offering. And eventually something answers. This is how musicians find their rhythm. How writers hit that unexplainable flow. How entrepreneurs stumble into brilliance. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's earned. One boring, consistent, committed day at a time. So if you're waiting for the spark, stop. Create the conditions. Build the altar. Sit at the desk. Because the muse isn't looking for perfection. She's looking for presence. And when she finds it, she'll give you everything. You wake up, and there it is again, that same tension in your chest, that same weight in your limbs. Resistance hasn't gone anywhere. It's waiting as always. You've fought it before, but it doesn't care. Today is a new battle. And that's the final truth Steven Pressfield leaves us with. This war never ends. No matter how many books you write, how many paintings you sell, how many wins you collect, resistance resets every morning. You never outrun it. You learn to outlast it. You become a warrior for your own creative life. It's not glamorous. It's not heroic in the way movies show. It's you, alone, facing the blank page, the empty studio, the silent room, again and again. But you do it anyway. Not because it gets easier, but because you've accepted that this is the price of doing meaningful work. Think about it. If resistance is a daily battle, then success isn't about beating it once. It's about building habits, routines, and beliefs that allow you to meet it with strength every day. That's why Pressfield doesn't romanticize the artist's life. He doesn't sell the myth of overnight genius. He shows us what it really is: a grind, a practice, a discipline, and a choice. You choose to fight. You choose to sit down even when you're tired, uninspired, or unsure. You choose to do the work, knowing that today's effort might lead to tomorrow's breakthrough, or it might lead to nothing at all. But you still show up. Because real professionals don't tie their self-worth to their results. They tie it to their effort, their consistency, their courage to keep going. This is the lifelong battle. And once you accept that it never ends, you become free. You stop expecting perfection. You stop chasing easy days. You stop wondering, why is this still hard? Instead, you armor up. You develop rituals that ground you. You create a space that invites work. You learn your own patterns, when you tend to sabotage, when fear starts whispering, and you get ahead of them. You train for this. Because every day you win the battle, even if it's just a small win, you strengthen your identity as a creator. Not someone who wants to create, but someone who does. And soon, something shifts. You stop fearing resistance. You begin to welcome it. Because resistance only attacks when you're doing something that matters. No one feels resistance about binge-watching a show or endlessly scrolling social media. But write a book? Start a company? Launch a project that exposes your soul to the world? Boom, resistance comes roaring. And that's your compass. That's your signal. The greater the resistance, the more vital the work. So now, instead of avoiding it, you chase it. You lean in. You recognize that pit in your stomach as a signpost. A green light. That feeling isn't a stop sign. It's proof you're on the right path. And here's the most powerful realization of all. You don't need to win every day. You just need to show up every day. Some days you'll do great work. Some days you'll barely scrape by. Some days it'll feel like a disaster. That's normal. That's part of it. That's art. The point isn't to dominate resistance forever. The point is to keep dancing with it, again and again, and refuse to let it make your decisions for you. And when you live this way long enough, the world around you changes. People see your commitment. Opportunities begin to open. Not because you forced them, but because you stayed in the game long enough to be found. You become known not just for your talent, but for your resilience. And you discover something deeper than success, self-respect. Because you kept your promise to yourself. You chose the path of the warrior. You did your work. You made your stand. And even when no one else knew how hard it was, you knew. That's the real victory. Not the applause. Not the money. Not the validation. But the quiet, unshakable pride that says, I showed up. I did what I came here to do. So now, as you finish this summary, you face a choice. Not tomorrow. Not next week. No. Will you stay where it's safe, comfortable, and familiar? Or will you pick up your tools, your pen, your camera, your laptop, your body, and begin the fight? The Muse is watching. Resistance is waiting. And your work, your real work, is still unwritten. But it's calling. And no one else can answer but you. If this summary stirred something in you, if you felt the pull to finally start that project, to finally fight back against the invisible enemy holding you down, then don't ignore that fire. Fan it. Because the truth is, the war of art isn't just a book. It's a call to arms. A wake-up slap for every creator, builder, dreamer, and doer who's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the right time. Now is the time. And here at Shiny Books, we believe in sharing not just stories but sparks. The kind that light up your inner battle and remind you what you're capable of. So if you found value in this breakdown, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Shiny Books, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a story that pushes you forward. Drop a comment below and tell us, what's the one thing you've been resisting? Let's name it. Let's face it. And then, let's go to war. Together. Because resistance may be strong. But you're stronger.